All right. The Went through three books yesterday. Jonah, the story, Jonah and the whale. Um, God gave him a command to go to um, Nineveh to preach. Right, and Nineveh was geographically, it's like um, right there in Iraq and Syria, right where they go to come together. It was like the capital of Assyria at the time, and they were evil people, right? And that's why you know Jonah didn't want to go. It's kind of like Rio Bravo, right? I live like 10 miles from Rio Bravo. It's where my mom lives in the wintertime. I had one of my buddies that was Navy SEAL with me. He was the first advisor in El Salvador, and he was a contractor, and he was doing executive protection for these Chinese engineers going down to fixing the power plant in Rio Bravo. And he said he saw more death and destruction in Rio Bravo in 6 months than he did in 6 months in Kabul, Afghanistan. So that's how I kind of relate to how Nivea was, right? And so Jonah didn't want to go, so he ran away, gets in the boat, and God causes a storm and throws him overboard, and everybody knows the story. And he finally gets swallowed by the whale, and then he gets coughed up, and then he goes to Nineveh and tells them, they're going to be, God's going to, put his wrath on him and destroy him, and then they start acting right, and God has mercy on him and does it. And he gets mad because he didn't go the way he said it was going to go, right? Okay, and how many people know people like that, right? They have a certain thing, the way things are going to be. It may work out right, but it didn't go their way, and they're upset about it, right? Oh, boy, I'm thinking of some people right now. And then there's the Habakkuk. So Habakkuk was he was a prophet. Usually, a prophet, that God gives him a message and he delivers them to the people, right? Well, Habakkuk was it's all about him talking to God, and he's it's they're under the Jews in Israel and Judah are under the control of Assyria, and they treat them bad. They rape their wives and their women, and they're harsh on them, right? And so God comes to him, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna do something that you're not gonna expect. Nobody's gonna see this coming. So he raises up Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon, and not only does he defeat the Assyrians, but he goes all the way down and defeats the Egyptians. Okay, he has control of that whole region, right? And of course, Habakkuk's like, didn't they're bad as they're the Babylonians. They're just as bad, right? And it wasn't his way, And then in Micah, so Micah was like for me to read. I had to go literally find a video of a pastor preaching on Micah. It was one thing like God's like saying he's sorry to the Jews, and I'm like, like he failed them, right? I'm like, what? Well, what it was this guy Micah was writing as if there was a trial, and God had to defend himself in the trial, and for going all the way back to Jacob. Both sides, are given their their offenses, right? And there was like really no judgment in this trial, but it was really confusing to read, right? It was crazy. So I'm like, what did I get out of this, right? Well, God, um, isn't going to do things the way you think he's going to do them, right? Things aren't going to happen. Um, you know, he's got resources and understanding that we don't. And so he may do things that just don't seem logical, but it is to him because he can see further out and has greater understanding than what we do. I got like 4 books left in the Old Testament to get into the New Testament, but I got so much more understanding of, when I look through what have I gotten out of all this reading, going through, think about this for a second. I'm looking for when the people of the Bible operate in their conscious mind versus their subconscious mind. Sure enough, every one of these, Jonah gets upset because things don't, the punishment doesn't come down against the Navarites is the way he spelled it out. Same thing with Habakkuk. It's he's not expecting the Babylonians to be going to come to the rescue, right? And then Micah, same thing, right? He's there's this this made up. Things just don't go the way they're expecting it, and the whole way, everybody in the Bible, all the way through, it's their pride, it's their thinking, all the way from Adam. Their way of doing things is going to be better. They can do it better, right? It always caught me in where Abraham is going into Egypt, and he decides to tell all the Egyptians that Sarah's his sister, and the ruler's like, she's beautiful, and they start courting her, and then they find out that she's his wife, and then they get all upset and get out of here, right? Kick him out because they didn't want to sin against God, and having sex with his wife, even though he told him that he was his sister. Where's the logic in that? And I think we're supposed to plan, and I think when we do plan, planning is good, right? What's really, really good though is to face your fears, face your challenges, and I've had a struggle doing that, but this has gotten me to deal with a couple things that I've had some issues with and get them under control, right? And it's amazing when you take what you're learning from the scriptures and you apply them to your life, how much of a difference that can make. All right, so I got 4 more books to go. Hopefully I'll get them through this weekend, and then I'm into the New Testament.